Bande Matram, good evening. So we are going to discuss on open only to the divine. That is the topic of discussion for now for this session, open only to the divine. So the topic we are going to discuss before going to have a brief discussion, we must know there must be you must be open to the influence of the divine. There must be exclusive self-opening to the divine power. So many ways that opening is a must. We must open ourselves to the divine because in the path of yoga, so far this integral yogic path is concerned, the aim, object, goal is only the divine. So this yoga, it begins from the divine. In between we'll find only the divine and the goal is only the divine. So divine is the beginning, divine is the middle, divine is the end. Without divine nothing can be done. So far this yogic process and the integral yogic process is concerned. Now the topic of discussion will be on open to the divine. Without really opening to the divine, nothing more can be done, no greater progress can be achieved. This is the very truth we have seen, we have experienced, we have felt in our life. So this on this opening, we will have a brief discussion right now. So initially, we'll quote Sri Aurobindo what really this opening is. Most of the time we quote you open yourself, and if you open yourself on one side and on another side you are opening to the undivine process, then it is very difficult to get the coordination, get the result. So exclusive self opening to the divine power. Before going to all these discussions, we will have a brief message from Sri Aurobindo on opening. Sri Aurobindo quotes beautifully. This is an opening. Opening is the thing that happens by itself, by sincerity of will and aspiration. So sometimes we claim with the mental hesitation, mental power, everything we feel we are open. But thing does not go that way. Really, we have to know what really this opening is. Opening requires the sincerity of will and aspiration. That is the most important thing. When we talk of orally, facially, that we are open, nothing happens like that. For the proper opening, the basic requirement is sincerity of will and aspiration. Sincerity of will and aspiration, that is the most required condition for the opening to the divine. Anyway, I will try to quote it again from Sri Aurobindo. How Sri Aurobindo has magnificently described this through this message. Will go. Opening is a thing that happens by itself. Opening is a thing that happens by itself by sincerity of will and aspiration. So that will, sincerity of will and the aspiration, that is the most required conditions. There must be an exclusive self-opening to the divine power. It has been quoted already. I have also quoted in the initial phase of discussion. There must be an exclusive self-opening to the divine. So when we are discussing about the opening to the divine, we must know what really divine is, and secondly, what is opening. Opening we have already discussed. Sincerity of will and aspiration, these are the most required condition for the opening. And on that one question was put to the mother, to the divine mother, sweet mother, what does an exclusive self opening to the divine power means? How really it works? What is the purpose? Why Sri Aurobindo quoted the exclusive self opening to the divine power? So mother tries to explain us in very clear manner, clear cut way. Instead of all self-opening, we should put respectively something that opens in order to receive. In order to receive, that opening must be there. Suppose that opening is there, the power is coming, the light is coming, the force is coming, but thing is that you are not receptive. Not, it does not work. So there must be an aspiration. You must open it. The force has to come, and it has to enter. It has to work, and you have to be witness. You will see, witness all. Then after the thing, after being properly prepared, you have to become the manifesting of. You have to become an instrument of that divine force. So that is the requirement. Here, mother quotes receptivity. We should put receptivity, something that opens in order to receive. That opening is there, and is something there should be or should open in order to receive. So that receptivity is a must. Instead of opening and receiving from all sides, 360 degree, instead of opening and receiving from all sides and from everyone, from all sides and from everyone, as is usually done, one opens only to the divine to receive only the divine force. Just before some time I quoted that divine force, it is descending. You must be received from all corners, all sides. You must be ready to receive only the divine force, nothing else, nothing excluding the divine force, nothing, not any undivine force. So this divine force you must receive from all sides. It is very opposite of what men usually do. Normally they are open to all, but close the door to the divine force. Normally, mother code, opposite of what men usually do. They are always open to the surface. They don't open it. They don't go into the depth. They don't know. Superficially, they are staying on the surface only. They receive all the influences from all sides. Receive all the influences from all sides, and then this produces inside them what might call a potpourri, mother loves, of all kinds of contradictory movements, because you expect something but you are indulged, involved in something else, which normally create countless difficulties. Opening from to the divine light on one side, but opening to other undivine forces in different sides. So contradictory difficulties, countless difficulties, mother course. So here you are advised to open only to the divine and receive only the divine force. Only you open yourself to the divine, and you and try, and it is a must for you to receive only the divine force to the exclusion of the everything else. This diminishes all difficulties almost entirely. So if your base is your pack is your base is Aadhaar is actually packed with entirely divine force, divine light, then the undivine forces will never find a spot, any point to stay, and they will simply move away. And they will diminish, your difficulties will diminish almost entirely. So for that, actually, what is the how we are going to do the things like this, first of all we must know what really this divine is. We are not actually, we always claim, chant, rather we quote about the divine, but actually what divine really, this divine is in almost most of the parts of the most parts of the discussion by Sri Aurobindo and modern, they have quoted divine instead of what's focusing upon gods and goddesses. Sri Aurobindo and the mother, of course, they concentrate more on the divine. So Sri Aurobindo tries to explain us the divine alone is our object. Already we have quoted, already we have explained to some extent. Divine is our object, nothing less, nothing less. So divine, only the divine. It is He is the beginning, He is the goal, and in between He is leading us. Without the divine, nothing more can be done. For those who wish to lead the spiritual life, one more step ahead by the master, while we are understand, because this integral yogic process we are pursuing, we are going, and with the help and the guidance of the divine mother and Sri Aurobindo's integral yoga, when we are pursuing, for those who wish to lead the spiritual life, it is a must consider explaining and defining the spiritual life. Sri Aurobindo has quoted, you know nobody can have the supramental realization unless otherwise he is spiritual. So without being spiritual, nothing supramental, dreaming of even supramental is a a daydream. No, nothing can happen like this. So, for those who wish to lead the spiritual life, supramental life, before comes the spiritual life. Only after the spiritualization, spiritual reading of spiritual life, some supramental realization will come. And those people who are who wish to lead the spiritual life, the divine must always come first. Everything is secondary. Everything counts nothing or having a very minor value, but divine comes first, and everything else must be a secondary. Whatever you wish, whatever you feel, everything must come secondary. So divine can lead, he does not drive. That is what drive. He is not driving from the back, he is on the very front. He will he is actually he has to lead us. So he does not drive, divine alone, divine can lead only. So actually one question was put to on where is divine, whom, how shall we know who is the divine, where is divine? Many questions are jumbling before us, coming one by one, they are crowding together. So many ways we get confused, and mother quotes in a very single and small sentence. The divine is what we adore in Sri Aurobindo. The very interesting line, very clarifying line with a crystal clear clarity. Nobody has to confuse. Nobody must have the second option to ask the question. Divine is what we adore in Sri Aurobindo. And on that time actually we will have the really this divine, when we divine think of the divine, we analyze in different angles, like divine and human, divine life, divine light, divine love, divine master, divine universal, divine will, divine working, divinization. So many ways we go and analyze the things. Now itself it is the first of thing, even if it is not the first thing, for most it comes the last. But thing is that it must be understood what really this divinization means. Divinization. So don't not to ponder over that division, but divine, from divine it is divinization. Sri Aurobindo explains, a descent of the divine can alone divinize the human receptacle. Here also receptacle, same thing. So how the human receptacle can be divinized? Only through the descent of the divine. With the descent of the divine, with this descent, a descent of the divine can alone divinize the human receptacle. Not all human receptacle, if it is ready, prepared, wills, aspires. So this divine receptacle, that can be it can be divinized through the descent of the divine. That is a great thing Sri Aurobindo has quoted. Again, Sri Aurobindo in the next clarification, Sri Aurobindo quotes here. Now, this divinization of the nature is a metamorphosis, transformation. This divinization of the nature is a metamorphosis, a change from falsehood to of our ignorant nature into the truth of God. That is the metamorphosis. Something will change to the highest good. So this divinization, where really we are focusing upon, this divinization of the nature is a metamorphosis and a change, metamorphosis, that has been better explained by again in the next page, next discuss clarification. A change from the falsehood of our ignorant nature, falsehood of our ignorant nature, towards into the truth of the God nature, truth of God nature. That is what Sri Aurobindo quotes, metamorphosis, and this is done through the process of divinization. This is the outcome of this divinization. Again, I will try to quote before you. This divinization of the nature is a metamorphosis, a change from the falsehood of our ignorant nature, from the falsehood of our ignorant nature into the truth of the God nature. Again, in the final phase on divinization, Sri Aurobindo tries to explain, only those who live in a supreme truth consciousness. Just imagine, try to understand the very essence of this sentence message. Only those who live in a supreme truth consciousness, and embody it are inwardly made or else remade, inwardly made or remade in the divine image. Only those who live in a supreme truth consciousness and embody it are inwardly made or else remade in the divine image. So, to stay, to dwell in the supreme truth consciousness is a must. Just imagine ordinary consciousness. It is also one something like oft one sometimes read or sometimes gone through proverb for us. But here, only those who live in the supreme truth consciousness and embody it, not only live and embody it, are inwardly made or else remade in the divine image. So while going to discuss only open only to the divine, there is no other go. And other something you can do, but the integral yoga, it is totally different. The purpose is, spiritualization, supramentalization, not rationalization, it, or a religion, vendetta. We are not staying in between. So this supramentalization and the spiritualization, so many ways it is a big definitions are before us. So for that only, that opening is a must. And mother here in the course, he who turns to the mother is doing my yoga. So this yoga, it is not a simple one, very difficult, because perfection, transformation, so many ways and so many big words we have listened, we have understood, or we have at least heard in your life. And moreover, not only heard, to some extent we are marching forward towards the divine goal. For that, actually, this divine opening to the divine is a must. There is no other goal. Two methods we are using. One is tapasya while in our progress. Second is surrender. Tapasya, the ancient ascetics, ancient sages, and they have pondered over, they have tried. But I don't know how long they have succeeded in life, because everything will, that depends upon your efficiency and efficacy. And if you have that efficiency, you can reach the final goal. Otherwise, you are simply will hang in between. That frustration being a big demerit for difficulty for you. But surrender to the divine mother, and that is a very good example, and very purposeful, and of course very accelerating step. So it is very helpful, because you are simply aspiring and surrendering to at the divine mother. If all your thoughts, all your movements, everything, whatever you ponder over, whatever you have, whatever you are, everything you surrender at the divine, and this she will carry you through all difficulty towards the supreme goal. That is the purpose. And this divine will, when the mind is pure and the psychic is prominent, then one can feel what is according to divine will and what is against. Is very difficult, but very prominent. You have to know. Most of the time we get confused. We keep asking questions to somebody, what is divine will? How shall I know? But thing is that to those who are asked the question, even they are ignorant how it works. So Sri Aurobindo quoted and explained, when the mind is pure and psychic prominent, then one can feel what is according to divine will and what is against it. Then that according that on that another point on divine will, still in the course, what the divine wills is always for the best. What the divine wills is always for the best. Even then, the mind does not see how it is. Really, mind, it is a very important element, that is the distorted and perverted portion of the super mind. So it is on the surface only, and it has to be the process of evolution. It is there, it is going upward, and passing or from surface mind, it is through passing to the spiritual mind, it is has to go to the super mind, the original position from where it comes. It is a time consuming method. It will take time if somebody proceeds to the process of evolution. Very difficult. So yoga is the only method to give you acceleration in the progress. So to be progressive, it is very simple and utmost one great process to follow to surrender near the divine. What the divine wills is always for the best. With that we must take care for. because we don't know, we don't have the idea. Mind, life, and body, they have got their limitations. They don't know what divine wills, that is for the best, and even though the mind does not know how it is. So, thing is that we must work. Once this force is descending, the light is descending in you, and if you are open, otherwise it will come and it will simply return back. Most of the time we do so. We call, all sincere prayers are granted, each call is answered. We are calling, the force is coming, everything is answered, but thing is that we are not ready to accept it. So the our limitations and distortions are the contribution to the working, are our contributions to the working. The true power is in it is the divines, so it has to there, and we must open, and we will see the divine working uses error in order to arrive at the truth, uses error in order to arrive at the truth, suffering in order to arrive at the bliss, imperfection in order to arrive at the perfection. That is the divine working. The goal is, to arrive at the truth, to arrive at the bliss, to arrive at the perfection. That is the point. But how shall we move? Something is there outwardly. No, it is there. When we talk of the point, truth, considered error is there. When we feel, we think of the bliss, then on another side, suffering is there. When we talk of the perfection, imperfection is there, and the divine working uses error in order to arrive at the truth, suffering in order to arrive at the bliss, imperfection in order to arrive at the perfection. That consciousness must be there, that knowledge we must have, and that opening we must have. Open only to the divine, and he will do everything for you. Bande Matram.